Hello, Just Sayin Nation, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Just Sayin with myself, Jared Stalby, and my co-host.
Shay Butter.
That's your Instagram name, though,
People at work call me Butter all the time, though.
but it's Shay spelled Shay, right?
No.
What? And
Like,
it's not a girl's name?
anyway, what's up, Just Saying? Welcome back. We're glad to
Welcome
be
back.
back for
Oh yeah,
another week. 3
we're,
weeks in a row.
exactly. We're so glad to be back for the third time every week. So let's get right into it. Episode 3 is going to feature kind of an NFL prelude
Oh,
to the offseason.
not Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Revenge of the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Episode 3, Revenge of the Chiefs. NFL prelude. We're going to be talking about expectations and questions going into the season. So thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday morning. If you're subscribed to YouTube for day early access,
Woo!
but if you're still on Spotify, which is fine, it's fine,
It's
but you should
great.
probably subscribe to our YouTube.
That's going to be our main moving forward.
Then we're glad to join you on this Thursday morning. So let's get right into it. Shay, what are we going to be talking about first?
Well, the NFL is the big chunk of the episode, of course, but we're going to save that for last. So, first, we're going to talk about some hockey.
Finally, baby, hockey news. It's the start of the season in less than 60 days. I believe October 12th is the first
Nice,
game of the season.
right in the middle of the off season, after the Panthers' victorious Cup run.
Exactly. So I'm really excited to finally deliver you guys some NHL news myself. So let's get right into it. My Tampa Bay Lightning are up for sale.
Haha.
Uh nah, they're not being sold like outright. So the details are reported by the Tampa Bay Times. Our owner, Jeffrey Vinnick, looks to expand ownership group of the Tampa Bay Lightning. He is in the process of selling off his majority stake in the team to a new owner. The sale would value the Lightning at a record-breaking $2 billion.
Sheesh.
Estimated if the sale goes through. Uh, in 2010, Vinnick purchased the team for 170 million. So I think he's going to be making a ton of profit.
Yeah, definitely.
um, he will remain in control of the organization though for the next several years and retain a large ownership stake, according to ESPN. So 2020, 2021, we've won back-to-back cups. The Tampa Bay Lightning have had tremendous success under Jeff Vinnick. So I am not too concerned with this sale, especially him stating that the day-to-day operations of the team will remain the same. So yeah, record-breaking sale, and we'll see what this and other NHL franchises are valued at because the Forbes list comes out next month.
Oh, okay, there you go.
So yeah, we'll see what the value is and see who the new owner is going to be. There's a couple names out there, but not going to report it because it's just rumors. But next up, something that doesn't happen very often in the NHL. The Edmonton Oilers were kind of screwed over by the St. Louis Blues as the Blues sign their young players, defenseman Philip Broberg and forward Dylan Holloway, to offer sheets. For Broberg, it's a 2-year contract at $4.6 million per season. And for Dylan Holloway, it's a 2-year contract at $2.3 million. And what an offer sheet is that you have a restricted free agent, usually on a contending team, because the contending team does not have a lot of cap space. So what these teams do, signing these players to offer sheets, is they basically cap strap these teams so that they can't match the offers, and you have 7 days to match the offer. Um, and if you don't do that, then the players automatically go to that team for that amount of money. But if the
Mm,
team does match, then they're signed to that contract. So either way, they're being guaranteed that money.
Mhm.
Uh, Now the deadline was today, and GM Stan Bowman of the Edmonton Oilers decided to not match the offer sheets on either player, which I think was a very smart move. Philip Broberg is a young defenseman, not worth $4.6 million. Same with Dylan Holloway. I like Holloway. He showed in this past year's playoffs how good he can be. Unfortunately, I do not think he's worth $2.3 million, and especially with the contracts of Leon Draisaitl and Evan Bouchard, who's going to be their franchise defenseman coming up next year, they just could not afford this.
Yeah, don't have the room for it.
So there's that. We'll see how these players do in St. Louis and see if the Oilers make any other moves before the season starts. Next up, Patrick Laine, the star sniper of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Unfortunately, uh, the last couple years has been riddled with injury, and this year he had entered the players' assistance program to get his mental state straightened out, which is great. I'm so happy more and more players are doing that,
Agreed.
and that's becoming a normal thing to do. Prioritize your mental health because as an athlete, it can be very tough out there.
Absolutely.
But he stated to new Blue Jackets GM Don Waddell that he wanted to change his scenery, and it was mutually agreed upon by him and the team. So he was traded. Patrick Laine was traded to the Montreal Canadiens along with a 2026 second round pick. The Columbus Blue Jackets received young defenseman Jordan Harris, and there's no salary retention. So Montreal is taking on the full $8.7 million cap hit for the next 2 years.
Mm.
So this trade, I really like it for both sides. Columbus frees up a lot of money, $8.7 million, to make additional moves. And the Canadians, with their young, promising forward core, including Juraj Slavkovsky, Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, and with the logjam they had on defense, they can afford to expend Jordan Harris. And they really bolster that forward core with Patrick Laine. Is it risky? Yes, because he's been injured a lot. And in Columbus, he hasn't really lived up to the 40, 50 goal scorer status that we know he can be. But if it pans out, this is going to be a very, very good move for the Canadians who had the cap space to take on this deal.
Just gotta hope he stays healthy.
Yep. So Montreal, I would definitely be excited. But also, who should be excited is the Seattle Kraken because they have signed their future star forward, Matty Beniers, to a 7-year, $7.14 million deal. I've seen a lot online with this that he's overpaid. How dare they throw all this money out to this young kid? What has he done at the NHL level? A little bit of a down year this year, so it's not unjustified. Uh, 20 in the 2023-2024 season, in 77 games, he had 15 goals, 22 assists for 37 points. After the prior season, winning the Calder Trophy, leading all rookies in points with, I believe it was 54. So we'll see how this goes for Seattle, but if he returns to form and keeps progressing into that elite two-way franchise forward, this is definitely going to be a really, really good contract.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's it. I was really excited to talk about some NHL news, and we finally got it. So there's your NHL fill for the week,
There you go.
and we will report on any other big news if it comes up. Shay, what's next on the list?
Well, we gotta, of course, touch on NASCAR. That just happened over the weekend. Before we get to the race, though, there was some little drama before regarding what we talked about last week.
Yeah, what happened last week? Didn't Austin Dillon kind of go on a little bit of a rampage?
Yeah, he did wreck Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano at the end of the race in Richmond. So obviously there was a big uproar, and we had a conversation about it last week. But well, NASCAR might have listened to our podcast and heard us. There's a very small
I
chance,
highly doubt it.
but you never know. Um, with that being said, though, he was penalized for what happened in Richmond. He does still get the win, so they're not taking the win away from him, but it will not count towards locked in spot in the playoffs. So there was that, and then he got like a points deduction too, with the amount of points he has, and points deduction. And I believe the team was fined, and I think his spotter was suspended too. So big, big, big penalties warranted, absolutely warranted. Uh, but hey, NASCAR actually did it.
Yeah, like we talked about the last week, there needed to be a black and white. There cannot be a gray area. And I'm really glad that they did this. I think it was the right decision. Like we discussed last week, wrecking one driver, probably an accident. But wrecking two drivers, eh, that that doesn't really seem like an accident.
Yeah.
So NASCAR, good job. You made the right decision, in my opinion. I'm sure you think the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Austin Dillon, though, still 13th in the standings, and with 2 races left, I don't have any doubt he's still gonna make the playoffs unless, some egregious happens, but there you go.
Yeah, so the race was at Michigan this weekend. It got rained out partway through on Sunday, so they finished it on Monday, and Tyler Reddick ended up winning. So Chastain and Bubba Wallace now the next two races, which next week or this I guess this week now is Daytona, and I cannot wait. Um, yeah, Ross Chastain and Wallace have a better shot as long as they finish well over the next two races, but Kyle Busch and Chase Briscoe are essentially in must-win situations here in the final 2 weeks of the regular season before the playoffs. And yeah, I mean, you only have 2 races left. Daytona is going to be the hardest one to win at for sure. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, definitely coming down to the wire, even though Kyle Busch had a great finish, he finished 4th. I believe he won stage 2 as well to
Yep.
get some stage points,
Yep.
but, yeah, still, like, over 90 points behind. Chastain and Wallace are only, like, a +1, -1, so far, so I think as long as they have good finishes, they can be locked into those final spots, but yeah, uh, Bush and Briscoe are so behind, they basically have to win at this point. So, now, with NASCAR wrapped up, Shay's gonna give us, the Little League World Series recap.
Yeah, the only baseball news really is from actually it's not the Little League World Series, the Little League Classic.
Oh, you
Um
lied to me.
I might have said the wrong thing because they're going on at the same exact time. Uh, so yeah, the Little League World Series is going on, and it's of course it's awesome to watch. But baseball every year now goes to Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and actually plays in the stadium where the Little League World Series is being played. So it's a very like intimate setting. It's not a huge stadium with thousands and thousands of fans. It's only like a few thousand fans. So it's all smaller crowd, obviously, but it's for the kids. So they go there. They actually take like bus rides to the stadiums with all the like Little League World Series kids, and they spend the days over there with them. And it's just a fantastic experience. And baseball is in this aspect genius for doing this every year because it keeps kids in baseball, and it's awesome. But the Tigers and the Yankees played at the Little League Classic, and it was actually a great game. The Tigers walked it off in the 10th inning to win 3-2 against the Yankees. So suck it, Yankees. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, just a quick question. Do these, games for the Little League Classic count towards the regular season?
Yeah, yeah, they do.
Oh, cool. So it's kind of like the NBA in-season tournament where you got, like, something else going on, but they're still playing games,
Yeah,
that matter
yeah.
in a
So
way.
baseball's really good at doing this because uh, for the first time a little earlier this year, they went to Rickwood Stadium. Forgive me, I forget the name. But where it's the oldest professional played ballpark in the country, even older than Fenway Park, 2 years older, where the Negro League played, and, that was the first time they ever did that, and then the last few years, they've been playing at in the corn mazes and or the cornfields, I'm sorry, for the movie, oh,
Oh, is
no.
that one horror movie?
No, it's not a horror movie, it's a baseball movie.
Oh,
Um, I don't know why I can't think of it right now, but they've been going there, and it's just a oh my god, it is an incredible sight. So they're
are you thinking of The Sandlot?
no, not Sandlot.
Oh,
But
I just know there's like baseball, like the kids play
mm,
baseball in that movie.
yeah,
So
no, not that movie. I'll probably think of it in the second half of the episode, and it'll just come out of nowhere and be completely non-related to what we're
yeah,
talking about, but
yeah, we'll be like, oh, so the Chiefs, can they repeat as? Oh,
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
remembered the movie.
Yeah, but anyway, no. Major League Baseball is fantastic at doing this kind of stuff. They did the Seoul series to start off the season in Korea. So they're really good about going to different events, and this is just I love this event because it's again with all the Little League World Series kids and they actually spend time with the kids and everything. It's just a really nice, really great event.
Yeah, it is really cool. I know the NHL does stuff like I want to say it's the Helena Gretzky tournament, um, where they have like the juniors. It's kind of like World Juniors, like in Europe, but just in Canada. So like it's kind of like that. So like World Juniors, like All Stars, I guess.
Mhm,
So you have like players from all the junior leagues come together and play in the tournament from like not just major juniors, but like junior A, junior B, which is like tiers below.
mhm,
So that's pretty cool. And like in terms of international series, like the NHL does their international series at the beginning of the year, like in Sweden.
mhm, yeah,
Uh, and obviously football has done that in Germany and London so far. So I definitely think like they should do more of that. Keep doing that because those games have been very successful, and it uh, exposes more people to your sport.
yeah,
So I think
absolutely.
that's fantastic.
NFL's going to Brazil for the first time this year with the Eagles and Packers opening week. So it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, cool. And as we know, like with baseball, baseball is obviously very big in Japan. It's very big in Mexico. NBA is very big in China.
Mhm.
So I do like it when all these leagues do like worldwide, global
Yeah,
events for
absolutely,
those fans.
absolutely.
So it's very nice. But make sure you don't go anywhere. Stay in your seat, in your car seat, in your computer seat, or laying on your bed, wherever you're listening to this podcast. Because once we get back, we're going to be talking about NFL expectations and questions. Does your team suck? Does your team not suck? Are they going to be bouncing back? Or are they going to fall apart?
They're gonna fall apart. I'm just telling you now.
The Bengals we'll see. We'll get there. But we'll get to the NFL after the break, and we'll see you all very soon. Welcome back, everyone. We hope you had a good break. We hope we had a good break.
I hope so too.
We didn't do anything on our break,
Nope, just sat here in silence.
but for you guys, it's only going to be like 10 seconds. But for us, it was like just 3 minutes of sitting in
Eternity.
silence.
Eternity.
So, with that, we're getting into the coup de grace, the NFL expectations and questions. Starting off with the Super Bowl contenders. First off, the winner of the Super Bowl,
The
the
last
Kansas City
two
Chiefs,
back to back.
back to back. And that's important because the Chiefs, who were the third seed in the AFC, that won the Super Bowl, with most of the core still intact, with Andy Reid coming back, obviously, to coach. Travis Kelsey, Patrick Mahomes, obviously, still there, and they didn't really lose a lot of depth. Shay, Can they be the first team in NFL history to win 3 straight Super Bowls? Which, honestly, I'm surprised that a team has not done that yet, with teams like the 49ers with Joe Montana and the late, early 90s Cowboys and even like the Steelers of the 70s. Surprised there's not a three-peat champion, but obviously it's that difficult.
Well, when every single game in the playoff is win or go home, yeah, it's not a series, not a best of 7 series, so
Yeah, so what are we thinking? Can the Chiefs be the first team to do this?
I have to say, yeah, I think they can.
I think if anybody, it'd probably be the Chiefs.
Yeah, they have the best quarterback in the entire league, if not, like some people are saying, the greatest of all time. Whoa, watch out.
That's a
Uh,
that's a whole debate for another time.
yeah, but they have Mahomes. Kelsey came back and restructured his deal and actually got a little extension too, so he's not going anywhere for the next few years. Um, so have their offensive weapons, Pacheco and everything got from the Bills essentially. Xavier Worthy. Um, they lost Legarius Sneed on the defensive side, but their defense was so young last year that and still performed so well that you can only expect them to be even better this year. Having 1 year under their belt. So yeah, I think they're going to be just fine. And if you didn't see that play during the preseason, yeah, it's the preseason, doesn't matter. But Mahomes throwing the ball behind his back to Travis Kelsey, and then coming out after the game when he was asked about it, saying, "Yeah, that wasn't supposed to happen because Kelsey ran the wrong route." If they're doing that in the preseason and it's just the wrong play to begin with, yeah, I mean,
He's
I
just that good.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree with you. I bet against the Chiefs last playoffs,
you did,
and I was proven wrong.
you were.
And after seeing that run with not just myself, but a lot of people were saying the Chiefs do not look as strong as they did last year. They only had an 11-6 record, which 11-6 is still a good record, and that's just how good the Chiefs are.
Yep.
When you have an 11-6 record, still the third seed, and people are saying they don't look as strong as they did last year. That's how you know you have a good team.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
but myself and a lot of people were proven wrong. They went back to back. That's now 3 Super Bowls for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And yeah, I think they have a really good shot of being the first team to go back to back to back.
Yeah, we will see what next week's episode we make our picks, Super Bowl picks.
Yeah, exactly. Tune in for that next week. We're going to be making a tier list, going through each division, and there will be polls posted on our Instagram account. So follow our Instagram account at Just Sayin Podcast with 3 T's.
Follow all our socials.
All our socials, which will be linked in the description.
Yeah.
So Shay, moving on. Who are we talking about next?
Okay, next up we have the San Francisco 49ers. Obviously they were the first seed in the NFC and lost in the Super Bowl to Mahomes and the Chiefs. But over the offseason, they lost a couple defensive weapons like Dre Greenlaw. Brandon Ayuk has been nothing but drama over the offseason, wanting out completely. Maybe he was going to the Patriots, maybe to the Browns, maybe the Steelers. Now all of a sudden he might be staying with the 49ers and they're working on a deal, but he's still holding out or holding in because he's technically in the building. He's just not participating. Their first ballot Hall of Famer, even though he's 36 years old, best left tackle in football, Trent Williams. He is holding out because he wants a new deal, not playing with any guaranteed money. And the time is running out for Brock Purdy, and you're going to have to pay Brock Purdy because he does not have a fifth year option since he was not a first round pick. So,
And Brock Purdy, yeah, he's going to get a raise.
yeah, 100%. So the time is running out there, and they just gave more money to Christian McCaffrey. So, Jairus, is this the final year of the 49ers window to get that elusive Super Bowl.
I don't think it's the final year of their window, especially if they re-sign Brock Purdy. We've talked about this before. There's a lot of criticism out there that Brock Purdy, oh well, he's just a system quarterback. I don't think so. I think he is that good. I think on you throw him on another contending team, I still think he performs pretty well.
Yeah, agreed.
So, Kyle Shanahan, their coach, I think there are some questions. Obviously, if they don't get back to where they were this past season, his job could definitely be on the hot seat. Um, man, that 2016 Super Bowl has not been rectified.
Nope.
So, yeah, with Kyle Shanahan, he needs to get this team a Super Bowl. Uh, I would go as far to say in the past year's Super Bowl that it was kind of a disappointment. I think they had the Chiefs where they wanted them, and everything just seemed like it kind of fell apart, which is not so much a testament to like the 49ers falling apart as it is like the Chiefs are just that good
Correct, yeah.
and they know how to come back and they know how to win. Um so yeah, I don't think it's the last year of their window,
But it's closing.
but it's definitely closing and they that might be their best shot.
Yeah.
They need to win. They've literally done everything they can. They've made the Super Bowl. Uh 20 2019 were they still under Shanahan?
Mhm.
Yeah. So they've made 2 Super Bowls, lost both of them to the Chiefs, and that's the storyline going into this season.
Yeah, I agree. I think as long as you have Christian McCaffrey, there's always gonna be a shot with the way he has played ever since getting traded to San Francisco.
Just a fantastic player, man.
Yeah.
Can do a little bit of everything,
Yeah,
not just like a pure running back, but he's like one of those players you can put in any situation.
exactly. So, I think as long as they have him and their defense is still gonna be good, they'll have a shot, but I think this year is their best shot to probably go back because it's only gonna get harder once you have to pay Brock Purdy and then there's not enough money for everybody else.
Yeah, I think for the 49ers, if they don't win the Super Bowl this year, that's going to be seen as a disappointment.
Yeah, I agree.
Next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens, who were the first seed in the AFC. So my question is, can the Ravens make it to the Super Bowl and win for the first time since 2013?
I think they can. This is the second year for Lamar and that offense under the offensive coordinator. The addition of Derrick Henry is huge in my opinion and makes them very that offense at least very very scary. So I think they can make it to the Super Bowl, but they still have to go through the Chiefs.
That's a lot of teams' problems.
Yeah.
People as the Chiefs.
Will they beat the Chiefs?
So
I don't know. I'm not confident to say that they will. Sure, they could, but will they? I don't know. But they could make it to the Super Bowl. Yeah.
now last year they had the number one rushing offense in the league
Hmm.
by a lot. Adding Derrick Henry to that just makes it that much scarier.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I have another question, and
Two?
yeah, I know. We said one. We said one
I'm not
question, and I
prepared.
broke the rules. Shame on me. So I don't want to come off as like I'm hating Lamar Jackson because I don't. I think Lamar Jackson, maybe not a top 5 quarterback, but definitely a top 10 for sure, in my opinion. But that's a whole other discussion. But with the rushing offense, is Lamar Jackson a one trick pony?
No, not at all. He, I think he proved it last year, winning the MVP. He's not. Uh, Obviously, his legs are a massive part of his game by far, but he also proved last year he can make the right decisions and throw the ball just as good as anybody. So, no, not at all.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I just wanted to throw that out there, to get a little spicy. Maybe get the comments section going.
Could get
So
them going.
we know in the AFC Championship game last year, um, I believe they had a lead going into overtime, or they weren't very far behind. It was definitely a low scoring game that I remember off the top of my head. But I remember in the second half they abandoned the rushing game
Mhm.
and they started passing. Now, was that the right decision? Maybe the offensive coordinator thought that the Chiefs were, figuring out the rushing game, so they wanted to change it up. Maybe, but I think in that second half, with all the passing, I think they should have utilized that rushing offense maybe a little bit more. You know, shoulda, woulda, coulda. But again, it's the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with you. I don't think Lamar Jackson one trick pony and being the reigning MVP would definitely prove that. Uh, so maybe I'll change my ranking. He probably is a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah, I think he's he's definitely top 5 quarterback.
I can already imagine the comments
Yeah.
section, like any Ravens fans are like, stupid just saying,
Yeah.
hosts saying Lamar Jackson's not a top 5 quarterback. What are you doing?
Yeah. Exactly. Moving on to the Lions, Detroit Lions. They were the 3rd seed in the NFC last year. The Lions extended Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown over the offseason. Well deserved. Well deserved. But the competition within the NFC North has only gotten harder. The Bears with Caleb Williams, and like we touched on last week, all the weapons already around him in place for him. The
Probably going into the best setup a rookie quarterback
correct.
has,
The
period.
exactly. The Packers, Jordan Love showing a lot of promise last year, gets his massive contract. They only look like they're going to be better. And even the Vikings, even though JJ McCarthy got hurt, of course, right after our episode last week, so that's why we didn't talk about it. But even with him getting hurt, he wasn't going to start anyway. You still can't count out the Vikings because they have Justin Jefferson. So, my question to you, and it's only one.
One.
um, with the Lions, they're favored to win the NFC North. But with their division getting harder, could they potentially not win the NFC North?
It's definitely going to be a lot closer, but I feel like it's their division to lose. For pound, I think they have the best roster in that division. Um, that last year of experience, so valuable. I can't state how valuable that was to all the young kids on the roster. I'm saying kids like I'm 40 years old. Those young players on the roster, that sounds a little bit better. So, and going on that deep playoff run just adds to that experience. They almost had them. They had
Almost.
such a big lead, and then it kind of fell apart for them. And man, I felt so bad for the Lions because they've never even been to a Super Bowl. Sorry, Lions fans. Let alone have won one. Sorry, Lions fans. Again. But oh my God, who's their head coach? I'm having
Dan Campbell.
yeah, Dan Campbell, one of the best head coaches in the league. I love how he uh, wears his heart on his sleeve
Yeah.
and just the emotion he shows. I have no doubt that Dan Campbell can take this team all the way. I'm that confident in Dan Campbell.
Yeah, I think he could take them all the way for sure. And they have the talent to do it. They're a great team. Um,
And they're a very deep team.
yeah, they're very deep. I think I agree they are it is probably their division to lose. They should win the NFC North, but I wouldn't be surprised if they don't win it. Just saying.
Yeah, like you said, there is a lot of tough competition. It's not like a division like the NFC South where, you know, that division's just so wide open.
Yeah.
Uh, but we'll get to that later. So yeah, I think the Lions can win the NFC North, for sure. They definitely have a really good shot. Uh, and with the playoff run they had last year, I really think there's a lot of promise for that team.
Yeah.
I think Lions fans, I think you're seeing a new age in Detroit. Uh, so yeah, moving on. The Buffalo Bills. Sorry, Jake. I'm just gonna say it right now because there's gonna be some that comes up. They were the second seed in the AFC. So my question to you, Shay, is, and it's only one this time. There's a
Good.
couple other two questioners later. Sorry, Shay. Will the Bills be able to remain a front runner in both the conference and the division, the AFC East, after just losing so much depth?
I will probably go against what most people say and say yes. I just love Josh Allen, and I really do like the Bills as an organization and as a whole. So I think because they've lost so much and big names like, Stephon Diggs and stuff, and Matt Milano just got hurt in training camp, which is just awful to see. It's terrible after missing all last year, basically. So, um, I think that puts a chip on the Bills' shoulders, especially Josh Allen's shoulders. I think they're going to be under the radar because they're not talked about as the top team in the AFC right now or top one of the best in football. I think they're under the radar and they're gonna wanna prove themselves like, "Yeah, we lost all this. That you're right, but it doesn't matter because 'cause we're still the Buffalo Bills."
Yeah, I think the storyline for the Bills has changed from like surefire contender, which I'm not saying they're not a contender, but I think the certainty of the team has changed to like now they're being looked at as an underdog.
Yeah, there are definitely questions, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there aren't, and they do need to prove themselves. I just think to answer the question, I think they can prove themselves, and at the end of it all, will be maybe not atop the conference of the AFC, but I think they'll be battling to win the division at the end of the year.
Yeah, I'm gonna go against you a little bit, and we'll talk about more of this next week, obviously, in our standings predictions. Uh, I think they will make the playoffs, but it will be as a wild card. I don't think they're as strong as last year to be in the running for first in the division. But we'll see. I've bet on a team. I've bet against a team before, and I've been wrong. So maybe I shouldn't bet against the Bills either. Sorry, Jake. Moving on.
Moving on, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They were the 4th seed last year in the NFC, crushing the Eagles, unfortunately, in the playoffs. So, after re-signing Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans to stay with the Bucks over the offseason, and also being in arguably the weakest division in football, the NFC South, will the Bucks surprise people this year and maybe be a dark horse for the season to go all the way?
I have to say yes. Baker Mayfield, after being the number one pick in 2017, famously to the Cleveland Browns, just did not pan out several years after. But in Tampa, it just worked. He had a resurgence. Uh, he didn't have like a fantastic season, like MVP level season, but I think he definitely earned his money.
Yeah, I agree.
Uh, so, and with him, I think the contract is perfect. 3 years, 100 million. Uh, that maybe gives the Buccaneers some time to draft another quarterback if they haven't already, and Brandon Milan maybe play behind Baker Mayfield, the last year of that 3-year contract, and maybe even re-sign Mayfield, another 2 years after that. And Mike Evans, arguably, top 5, top 10 wide receiver in the league. That contract he signed just very, very reasonable. It was not an overly expensive contract. I think Mike Evans and the Bucks belong together. So I'm really glad to see Mayfield and Evans back because they were a pretty good duo last year. And like you said, they beat the Eagles. Which I mean, I guess you could say it was an upset, but with the way the Eagles were going into the playoffs, I didn't really see it as like a shocker. Just with the Eagles not really having much momentum, uh, and during the divisional round, it came down to the last play for Mayfield and the Bucks against the Lions. So it was a close game.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think the Bucks have the potential to maybe surprise some people. Same with what we said about the Lions. I think in the NFC South, I think it's the Bucks division to lose. But the Falcons, you know, could be stronger. They signed Kirk Cousins to that deal, so you can't count them out. Um,
The Falcons are favored to win the division right now before the season starts.
yeah. I would say with the Saints, I I don't I don't really see them being in the running. And obviously the Carolina Panthers will not be in the running. I wouldn't think. So yeah, I think they can surprise people for sure.
Just like you did the last question, I will go the opposite way on this one. I think they could win their division. They probably will, but I don't see them getting to the Super Bowl, going all the way. I think Baker keeping Baker and Mike Evans, but especially keeping Baker Mayfield and having a 3-year deal was the perfect move that the Bucks needed to do, and I give them a ton of credit for that. But I don't think they are one of the best teams in football. I don't think they have the necessary pieces to go all the way to the Super Bowl, potentially win the Super Bowl, beat the Chiefs if they go back. But yeah, I think they'll win the division and get to the playoffs, but besides that, I don't think they're going to do anything.
Yeah, we'll see. I'd have to agree with you. I don't think they're like a solidified contender. But you never know.
Never know.
Stranger things have happened in football. Cinderella runs happen.
Mhm.
So we'll see. Moving on, the Houston Texans, probably one of the most promising teams in the NFL, aside from the Lions. They were the fourth seed last year in the AFC. So my two questions, sorry.
Shocker.
First question: can CJ Stroud emerge? And he already had his breakout season last year,
Yeah.
but can he take a step further and emerge as like an MVP level quarterback, especially with the Texans bolstering their team in the offseason with moves like adding Stephon Diggs from Buffalo, sorry Jake, and Joe Mixon from the Bengals. Sorry me.
Yeah, I mean, just last year there were already conversations of him. He was already in the MVP conversation. He didn't win, obviously, and he wasn't in second either. But yeah, he could absolutely come out and pick up right where he left off, just and then keep improving on top of that to be in consideration for the MVP as long as he doesn't have a sophomore slump, which does happen in the NFL. But with him and the Texans, I don't see that happening this year.
Yeah, I also think if he has a sophomore slump, I don't think there would be like reason to panic. Just
No, I don't think there'd be reason. I think it'd be disappointing, but I don't
yeah,
think there'd be reason to
I
panic.
would think they'd panic. Like if he had a sophomore slump, then they'd just be like, all right, we can just move on next year
Yeah.
if they're like out of the running for the playoffs. Uh, so with CJ Stroud being their franchise quarterback, is this going to be very sustained success for the organization, or is it going to be like another Deshaun Watson era?
No, I think it'll be sustained. D'Amico Ryan's fantastic head coach, brought in an amazing culture for that organization. Everybody that down there, in Houston seems to really love each other and get along with everyone, and they all love D'Amico, and CJ's a bona fide leader. So this, I don't see this going away anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, moving on. Green Bay Packers, the 7th seed in the NFC last year. Jarris, my one question to you. Can the Packers pick up where they left off last year? Oh, I guess it is a two-parter. I'm sorry. Can the Packers pick up where they left off last year? And can Jordan Love prove his status as now the highest paid QB in NFL history?
All right, I'm gonna go controversial here. I think for the Green Bay Packers last year, it was a good run. Jordan Love, and especially against those Cowboys. Oh, just awesome to see. Such an embarrassment. We love it.
Absolutely.
But I'm gonna say this year again. Season standing predictions next week, but I'm gonna say this year they're gonna miss the playoffs.
Wow.
Um, I I like Jordan Love. Um, and we talked about this last week, just with the amount
You
of
need to love, man.
uh, like we talked about last week with these young quarterbacks getting a ton of money now. This is just how the way the league is going.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to change. Uh, but I think it's a lot of pressure to put on Jordan Love. And obviously, let's not forget he's been in the league for a few years, playing behind Aaron Rodgers. It's
One of
not
the
like
one of the greatest of all time.
it's not like he's a rookie by any means. But I think this roster needs some more experience, and I think they have more to learn. So yeah, I'm gonna predict that they might have a setback this year. So what do you think?
I think the Packers have always been a good team for the last, 20 years it seems like. Um I think they will pick up where they left off. They might have a slow start to the year, but unlike last year, how the first half of the year was not very good, but then the second half of the year, they were one of the best teams in the league. I think they'll have more of a balanced year, but better, like be better this year. So I think they'll make the playoffs. I I think they'll be one of the team. They'll be one of the teams in the NFC North that could take first away from the Lions, but we'll see. Um, and I think Jordan Love can prove that he earned that deal. I think he has the talent to do it, but I also think he needs to.
Yeah, for sure. Now labeled as the highest paid quarterback in the league ever. Yeah, you definitely need to prove that the Packers didn't make a mistake.
Yeah.
So moving on to the Miami Dolphins, and I'm just gonna say it now, Dolphins fans. I think at this point you guys are probably the most overrated team in the league.
Said that last week. Don't start another fight.
So I'm just starting fights this week. I just want to get some comments going. So they were the sixth seed in the AFC after kind of choking away the division lead last year. Uh, so I have one question. I had double check. So my question to you, Shay, is with most of the core now signed under contract, including Waddle, Tua, not even gonna try to pronounce his last name, and they brought in Beckham Jr. on a 1 year deal. Can this team win the division and show up against high level teams? Because as we remember last year, yeah, the Dolphins had a great record, but a lot of their wins came from teams that were below 500.
Right.
So can they show up against the high level teams in both the regular season, get into the playoffs, and get over the hump in the playoffs?
If they first for the regular season, I think they can. Can they win their division? Absolutely, I think they can. I think it'll be one of the hardest divisions to win, probably, with the Jets being the early favorites right now, and then the Bills as well. So, but I think it's a three-way race because the Patriots are rebuilding right now, so you can't count them. But it's a three-way race, but they can absolutely win the division. I do believe. I their offense has proven that they can win against everybody if they execute. Now, can they execute against the great defenses of the league, those high level teams? They can. They just need to do it consistently, and they will then start winning those games. They will not win in the playoffs if they do not get at least one home playoff game. Because, like I said last week, they're 0-10 in their last 10 games with 40 degrees or below. And if they have to go up north that first week of the playoffs or something, y- I'm going to expect them to lose no matter who they're playing.
Yeah.
So they need for the Dolphins to, prove those doubters wrong like yourself. They need to get a home playoff game just to make people shut up a little bit because otherwise it's going to get very loud.
Yeah, and I want the Miami Dolphins to be successful. Sorry, Jake. But as like you said, we know how good they can be. They had the number 1 passing offense in the league. Sure, they fed off of some bottom feeders, but as long as they could execute against the great teams of their conference and in the playoffs, they absolutely can. They have the deep roster to do it. They have the offense to do it. I think Mike McDaniels is a very talented offensive coordinator. A lot of people do think he's overrated. I don't think so. So I'm just saying I think they're overrated at this point because I just need to see that next step,
Yeah. Hmm.
and I think that's fair. I think
Absolutely.
that's a fair assessment.
That's why I said I think they need that home playoff game and win it to show like, yeah, we're real.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Philadelphia Eagles. They were the
Womp womp.
fifth seed last year in the NFC. Um, with their bolstered secondary, after picking up Quinyon Mitchell in the first round and Cooper DeJean in the second round, the two top corners in the draft this year, only the fourth team in NFL history to take two of the top four corners with their first two picks in the draft.
Oh wow.
So they really made it an emphasis to fix their secondary issues. So with that being said, with those and then picking up big free agents like Saquon Barkley, can the Birds rebound after their 1-6 meltdown to end last season?
Absolutely. With rebounds from obviously Jalen Hurts too. Uh, I have no doubt that the Eagles can bounce back. Um, I really think what we saw last year is that they got in their heads, and I think really they beat themselves during that 1-6 skid entering the playoffs. So I don't have any doubt. Um, Nick Sirianni is a great coach, and they obviously brought in all new coaching staff under him. Uh, this year, if they have another disappointing season, because as we all know, they went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Uh, there would definitely be some questions. Do you think Nick Sirianni would be on the hot seat?
Because it's in Philly, and Philly's arguably the toughest sports town to be. Uh, if they have a disappointing year, Nick Sirianni's getting fired. Not
Like
he's on
no
the hot
doubt.
seat already. Like
Yeah,
he's getting fired. There were talks for him to be fired last year.
yeah, but yeah, I don't have any doubt that the Eagles can bounce back. So I think last year you're just like, all right, you know, we were 1-6. Let's regroup, and they said it all. Last year, all the post game interviews when they were losing, they said, we got to think about the next one. We got to bounce
Yeah.
back. Now, there's obviously questions because that didn't really happen. So this year, just put it behind you, get off to a really good start, and make sure you finish strong. When you have that loss in the middle of the season or like during a tough stretch, you know, you can talk about bouncing back all you want, but you got to show it.
Yeah, they said all the right things last year, and I was quoted myself on these episodes last year of being very happy that they were saying the right things, but then they didn't actually go and do them. So I think they can bounce back, especially with Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, and Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator. A proven track record for both guys, unlike last year, our OC and DC were not proven. These guys are proven. I really am behind their draft picks too. They were very smart. Getting Saquon, as long as he's healthy, Saquon will be perfect for us. And I think Jalen could have a bounce back year. Um,
I feel like
if
if they
they
don't,
don't,
I think you might lose your mind.
if they don't, because it's in Philly, they're probably going to blow the team up. Honestly, we lost Jason Kelsey, the pillar of our team,
Yeah,
without a
very
doubt.
very heart and soul guy.
But he's been there all training camp. He has an office with the coaches actually, so he's like left but hasn't left. It's kind of funny, and I'm trying not to.
That's awesome though
Yeah,
to have him there
absolutely,
as a mentor.
and I'm trying to not to get my hopes up because I saw something this morning where they're in this whole training camp. Jalen Hurts has thrown 243 passes and hasn't been picked off once. He has no interceptions,
Okay.
which, wow, that's very impressive. But it's training camp.
Yeah.
It's not even in games. So as much as like, okay, yeah, that's cool, but can we do that in actual games? I don't know. I'm hoping not. I I think we'll bounce back. I think we'll be okay, but I'm very skeptical right now.
Yeah, and I think as you should be, I think that's justified. All right, moving on. The Cleveland Browns, who were the fifth seed in the AFC. And man, let's talk about it again. Joe Flacco. Oh, what a game for him.
He's the backup on the Colts now this year.
Yep. Yeah, they didn't bring him back. From the couch to the wild card. Put up a good performance too.
Yeah.
Uh so two questions now. Was last year's playoff appearance a fluke?
No.
All right, moving on. Can Deshaun Watson and Nick Chubb be healthy and return to their prior forms along with another strong season from Amari Cooper?
Nick Chubb, absolutely. His injury was just
Brutal. If you didn't see it,
brutal.
oh, knees
Brutal.
should not bend that way, people.
No. So he him being healthy, yeah, he'll be bounced back. I have not been sold on Deshaun Watson since he left Houston. Um, he for me, like you with the Dolphins, they need to prove it. Deshaun Watson needs to prove it to me. I have not been sold on him ever since he left Houston, and obviously the things he was alleged of doing plays into that, of course. But um, that defense though will carry them all the way to the Super Bowl if their offense can just score like over 17 points a game, basically. Like, absolutely. So it's not a fluke. And Watson needs to prove himself. But Nick Chubb being healthy, yeah, he'll
Be
be
a big for that team.
he'll be fantastic. And Amari Cooper is still gonna be, fantastic. So
Yeah. All right, moving on.
next up is the Los Angeles Rams. They were the sixth seed, surprising sixth seed last year in the NFC. So can
From a strong rookie season from Puka
oh
Nakua,
yeah,
though.
can this young Rams team like Puka Nakua and Matthew Stafford win their division and earn a home playoff game, basically continuing their success from last year because nobody expected them to actually be as good as they were last year.
I'm not sure if they could be in the running for the division, but I think after winning that Super Bowl in 2021 and then missing the playoffs by a lot, and obviously that was due to injuries as well. Uh, I think they have a chip on their shoulder, like we've said with a couple other teams. Matt Stafford is a good quarterback. I love Matt Stafford. I
Mhm.
was really happy Sorry, Lions fans, and I'm sure Lions fans were very happy to see him win that ring
Oh yeah,
for
100%.
sure. Uh, so yeah, I don't think they'll be in the running for the division, but they definitely have the potential to secure that wild card. And I think the Rams do really well as underdogs.
Yeah, I agree. I think they could win their division though. Their division's not the strongest with the Seahawks and uh Broncos. Nope, not Broncos. Nope.
Yeah, I forgot like all the divisions. So
They're the NFC West, so they will not win their division because the 49ers are in their division. So I don't think
oh
they'll win
yeah,
their division now.
yeah.
So I think they could earn a home playoff game though, but oh no, we'll see. I think they are going to improve though and be better.
I think they should be a playoff team, and I think with like just another year, I think they can, you know, be in the running. You know, maybe win a playoff game, get to the divisional.
Yeah,
So moving on, the Pittsburgh Steelers, which to me are one of the more fascinating teams in the league. They were the seventh seed, of course. Who's their head coach?
Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, a lot of talk in Pittsburgh about him. A lot of Pittsburgh Steelers fans want to see him gone. But he's been really good for them. I believe under his entire tenure, they have not had a losing record.
Correct.
So definitely, though, they need to get out of that space of like just making it and then losing in the wild card. So my question to you, Shay, is: can the Steelers be in the running for the division, which the AFC North, yeah, is one of the toughest divisions in the league
Mhm.
with the Bengals, the Steelers, the Browns, and the Ravens. Uh, can they be in the running to win the division with their completely revamped offense? And all opponents in that division have 1 through 4 the toughest schedules in the
Correct.
league.
Yeah. I They could be in the running to win if their offense shows up. Yes. Their defense is fantastic. Um,
Oh
if
yeah, and I will say I've been reading a lot about them during the preseason. The offensive issues are already showing up,
Yeah,
so
but
that's not a good sign.
it's the
Obviously
preseason.
preseason,
It's the preseason.
but being
I
in Pittsburgh, there's a lot of people that are
Yeah.
obviously reacting.
I I don't think they're gonna hit the ground running. I Because they have a new offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith. I think it'll take some time to find out who exactly they are, especially if there's a quarterback battle and they switch out quarterbacks and not consistent. Even though I think Russell Wilson's gonna win the job. Um, I But yeah, if their offense shows up, yeah, they'll be in the running because they are every year essentially, because it is one of the toughest divisions in football. All the teams last year were above 500 at the end of the year.
Yeah, they
So
were the best division in football last year.
yeah, so
Definitely.
yeah, if their offense shows up, yes, they'll be in the running.
All right, moving on.
All right, finally, the Dallas Cowboys. They were this second seed in the NFC last year, which got them absolutely nowhere. Dak, he's at the final year of his deal, and rightfully so. He wants a new deal, but he's still playing. But the Cowboys aren't, giving him one. Micah Parsons. Well, hey, I'm the best outside linebacker or defensive end whenever he's playing at the moment uh, in the league, but I'm not making the same amount of money as the others like Nick Bosa and Joey Bosa and stuff like that. So where's my new deal? So he's actually been holding in CD Lamb, their wide receiver. Top
Where's
5
my new
wide
deal?
receiver. Yeah, top 5 wide receiver in the entire league. Where's my new deal? He was saying. And he's been holding out. And Jerry Jones, like we talked about last week, he's late to all these signings and extensions. So now they're kind of stuck. And head coach Mike McCarthy, he's on the last year of his deal. So, after a lackluster offseason, because they didn't really do anything, and let me stress this, another disappointing
Let me stress that. Disappointing.
playoff last season, and all these people wanting new deals. Is this a lame duck year for the Dallas Cowboys, America's team?
Now, every fiber in my being wants to say yes, especially with all this drama going on and them basically doing nothing and continue to do nothing
Yeah.
in the off season. But this team has been so good in the regular season. We obviously know this for the last few years. Uh, so it's tough for me to say because they've waited this long and now they're in such a tough spot with Micah Parsons and CD Lamb wanting their new deals. And they're gonna have to pay them because they waited so long with Justin Jefferson resetting the market and Micah Parsons not getting anywhere near what the top offensive linebackers make. So yeah, they're they're in a tough spot, but they're obviously going to be a playoff team. I don't see any scenario where they miss the playoffs. Uh, but yeah, with the Cowboys, the regular season, I think for especially for this team, the regular season does not matter. It's what they do in the playoffs. They can go. I think they could go 17-0 at this point. But if they have a playoff exit, it does not matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, they need to do something.
Yeah, I think as long as they have the Dak and Micah Parsons, I'm sure he'll come back to play once the season starts on defense. Well, as long as they have those two, I think they'll be fine. But if CD holds out and misses some games, he was their offense last year
Oh, for sure.
by far. No one was even close. They did not really have a running game. The next closest receiver is like 600 yards short of what CD had last year. So if CD doesn't come back, yeah, I don't see them making the playoffs without CD Lamb. So I hope it's a lame duck year. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Moving on, we're going to talk about my teams because they did not make the playoffs. Very sad. Uh, so the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are the first team that did not qualify for the playoffs, they had a must-win game, the final game of the season with the Tennessee Titans, which they had last year. Did not work out for them this year. So, two questions for you, Shay, real quick. Can the Jaguars be in the running for the division after signing Trevor Lawrence to his massive contract?
I think they can. And that goes along with the second question you're going to ask, which is can he take the next step and maintain consistency? If I think he can take that next step, but them being in the running for the division will depend solely on if he is consistent. Um,
This is
'ca-
a really big year for the team.
yeah, just like the who did we talk about earlier?
Jordan Love.
The Lions, how it's their division to lose. This is the Texans' division to lose. Um, and then everyone else is going to go for a wild card spot. I think the Colts and Jaguars and the Titans, who I think might surprise some people.
Yeah, I think that division is not as weak as many people think.
Yeah, so if he does take that next step and is more consistent, they'll be in the running for the division, but I think they'll most likely get second, not win, because I don't think they can beat the Texans.
Yeah, I think so. I think they have, a weaker team on paper than the Texans can. And Trevor Lawrence, when he's been good, he's been very good. But when he's not good, he's not been good. So it's kind of all over the place. That's why I say like he needs to maintain consistency because even though he wasn't, he was very good when he was last year. He was top 5 in fumbles by a quarterback and interceptions thrown.
Yeah.
So, you know, not something you want when you just signed him to a 5-year, $275 million deal. So, but yeah, if he doesn't take this next step, um, that's going to be kind of a disaster,
Yeah, then the
especially after
Jaguars
signing him to that
get
contract.
yeah, because Jacksonville's gonna be stuck with it, and the Jags will just be mediocre for the next 5 years.
Yeah, and I love Doug Peterson, but he, revamped the coaching staff. I think if they have another disappointing season this year, I think his job will be on the cutting block, unfortunately. So the last team we're going to talk about real quick is the Cincinnati Bengals, who did not qualify for the playoffs, even though they had a 9-8 record, but they were in the toughest division last year in baseball. So
You mean football?
in football, sorry. So the obvious question is, can Joe Burrow stay healthy? And can the Bengals get off to a strong start? Because the last couple seasons they've gotten off to a really bad start and they've had to catch up.
Yeah, if Joe Burrow stays healthy, they should be able to get off to a strong start. They bolstered their O-line to help with the sacks and everything, so if they don't get off to a strong start again for the third or fourth season in a row, I would be very worried.
Yeah. And still the drama with Jamar Chase isn't going to be worked out. And with T. Higgins, this is probably his last year in Cincinnati. Is this their best shot at winning a Super Bowl?
It it better be worked out with Chase because he still has 2 years left on his original rookie year deal, so he has
Yeah, we
no
were wrong on that last week.
yeah, he has 2 years left, so he kinda has no leverage right now other than being an amazing wide receiver. And the president of the Bengals came out and said, "Yeah, now's not the time to put in for an extension." So, I don't think it's gonna happen this season, so Chase better come back or he's gonna start losing money. Um, with
Yeah,
that
especially if he holds out like the first few games, that's not going to be good.
right. With that being said, is this their best chance at a Super Bowl? Yep, I think so. T. Higgins not gonna be there next year, you because you have to pay Jamar Chase and obviously Joe Burrow's massive contract, which is well deserved. You're gonna have to start cutting some other players maybe on the defensive side because of all this money that's needed for these guys. So, yeah, I think this is probably their best shot.
Yeah, I think so too. So as long as Burrow stays healthy, which I think is the biggest thing, and they get off to a strong start, they obviously should be a playoff team. It's not going to be easy because of the division they're in,
Mhm.
uh, but I don't think it's like the Ravens division. If the Bengals do really well, they can definitely win the division. So, all right,
Yeah.
that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Just Saying. Tune in next week when we give you our official standings predictions with the tier list, and we will also post that to YouTube as a video. So look forward to that.
Yep.
And yeah, make sure you follow our socials. Shay, where can they find our socials?
MySpace,
WhatsApp,
LinkedIn, WhatsApp, the normal ones
internet
that
chat room.
yeah, the ones that everybody uses. No, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok,
Yes, we do have a TikTok. So if you don't have time
TikTok.
to listen to these long episodes, you can follow our TikTok and you'll get little snippets.
Yeah. Obviously, like we said earlier, Spotify and all the other podcast platforms. YouTube is our going to be our main now moving forward. We have things planned in the works to surprise you guys that we're excited about. Um, but yeah, next week's going to be fun. Tier list, Super Bowl predictions right before the season starts. So we will see you all next week. Thank you for listening. Have a great week.